Hello, Contrarians, listeners, watchers, subscribers. Here we are with the first of our two-part warm-up slash episode on Spider-Man, the Tom Holland version. We're doing the last two movies in the Tom Holland trilogy, which will probably be a quadrilogy or a collection of 5 movies or more by the time it's all done with the MCU. But right now, there's only 3. Alex had already watched Homecoming, so now it was time to continue the journey with Far From Home. That's where we are right now. And then next episode is going to be No Way Home. That's what it's called. So here we are. Super fresh, Far From Home. 91%, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that right? Yeah, 91%. Certified fresh. Over 400 reviews. Because, of course, it's a Marvel movie. At least it was a Marvel movie back in 2019. It's still a Marvel movie, but it's no longer 2019. That's what I mean. Back in 2019, everybody had positive things to say about everything Marvel, pretty much. And that's changed a little bit. Things have changed since 2019. You know, there was a pandemic and so on. But this was the follow-up to Avengers Endgame, and we talked about it on the episode, and it's just almost impossible to go through the quotes without Avengers Endgame and Avengers in general coming up. So expect more of that here. But on this warm-up, we're going to give you the usual. We're going to give you some extra Rotten Tomatoes quotes, some extra trivia, the Josh Gad Minute, and we're also going to talk about the trailer. Not in that order, but, you know, it will all be there. So, Alex, if you're ready, let's get into the quotes. All right. Actually, we can start with the consensus. 91%, as I said. A breezily unpredictable blend of teen romance and superhero action, Spider-Man Far From Home stylishly sets the stage for the next era of the MCU.
Which some of us could care less about, but, you know,
Hey,
couldn't care less, I should say.
That's your prerogative. You can...
it's like your opinion, man.
It's like your opinion, man. Can you really have an opinion if you haven't sampled what happened after?
Yes.
It's certainly been divisive what happened post Endgame, but I think that as a transitional piece, Far From Home was kind of a reassuring, like, hey, look, if you want to stick around, like Spider-Man's sticking around too in his supporting cast, and fun stuff is going to happen. So, you know, in style. That was John Watts' motto. We're going to start with the first fresh quote. That's from Max Green from In Session Film, who says, "The Endgame hangover is still being felt, but Spider-Man Far From Home is a solid film that offers a fun and exciting look into Peter Parker's life and the lives of everyone affected by the blip, fear, and fake news."
It's not a hangover if it's just like it was released 3 months after Endgame, man.
Yeah, I mean, a really long, powerful hangover. What's the longest you've been hungover?
There's like been benders where there's like a 2-day hangover, but I'm talking like in the context of what they're talking about here. It'd be like if Dark Knight Rises came out 3 months after The Dark Knight. It's just like you have no time to really catch your breath.
But it's so different. I think that's the difference, obviously.
Yeah, it's good.
The Dark Knight Rises is basically the end of the story, whereas like this is more like a transition.
The story never ends, and this shit.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
5 years later, my voice cracked. I'm so like worked up about it. Let's see, 5 years later. No, that's just interesting phrasing because that's like saying, you know, the hangover's still going on, and I woke up 2 hours ago. You know.
Yeah. Well, Alex, you might have forgotten, but after Endgame came out, like people were still talking about it months later. So I think that's probably what they're referring to, right? The movie was already no longer in theaters, and people were still dealing with what had happened in that movie.
It's like Titanic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine if Spider-Man Far From Home followed up Titanic, and all he can see in those billboards was DiCaprio.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah. All right. Next quote is from Maddie Lucas from The Dispatch, Lexington, North Carolina, who says, "Rather than wiping out half of all life in the universe, this villain seeks to wipe out truth itself. And in 2019, there's nothing more terrifying or more relevant than that."
It's a good review.
Yeah. Back in 2019, imagine if Mysterio came out in 2024. he would just like sit back and be like, "Well, I don't need to do anything really."
Yeah. His last line he has in the movie, you know, at a risk of spoilers, yeah, like the last line his character delivers in front of you is kind of it wouldn't be a premonition because things were already that way, but they've just gotten a lot worse since then. So, he's talking about now people won't know what to believe, and that's where.
Yeah. Hashtag Mysterio was right. He was using AI and doing deep fakes way before it became cool and mainstream. And he's the bad guy in the movie. So, there is probably an offshoot, one of those like ideas that you hate, Alex, where somebody pitches a movie that is set in the MCU but has nothing to do with the main players. Like, like what was it? The one that
you hate those. I don't like. I don't know if I've watched any of them. You just tell me they're really bad.
No. I don't think they exist. There's one that you always bring up, like the guy that what is it, like a priest that lives in the world with Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about now. I thought you were talking about like the real movies that exist. Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Well, but then now you have like a programmer or a special effects artist that lives in the world where Mysterio just basically proved that everything could be fake. And so, no, it wouldn't be a special effects artist. It would be like somebody that's in charge
Alex Jones.
Well, pig and shit. But no, in that world, you already have Jameson. So no, you can't have that.
Yes, that's true.
No, whoever's in charge of like verifying like security, and verifying footage. And it's like, what the fuck do I do with my life now?
Like a documentarian who spent his like life to prove that like the moon landing was either fake or real. I don't know which one would be funnier, but then Mysterio was like,
I don't know. The whole Endgame was just like a projection and drones and whatever. Nobody really disappeared. Well, it is. I mean, the movie it's mostly a road trip, but I think it touches on those things, and it was already in our heads back in 2019. Now, Alex, I sent you the link for the trailer. Let's talk about the trailer. It answers the specific one I sent. I don't know that was always playing, but the one that I picked was the one that I found pretty charming because it answered a question that we had during the episode, which is, how did they promote this movie without spoiling Endgame when it came out, as you said, only 3 months after Endgame?
And this trailer couldn't have been in theaters. Like, there's no way they're like, leave the theater now. Because for those of you who don't know, we're talking about the theater starts with Tom Holland out of character, just being like, the trailer for Spider-Man Far Away From Home is coming up next. If you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch it because there's a lot of spoilers. So I'm just imagining, like, just like, all right, I'll give you a moment to get out your things and leave the theater. Yeah, right away. It's like Robert Downey Jr.'s dead is basically like what the trailer leads off with. And wasn't as cutesy as I was expecting, because these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are very cutesy.
As it should be.
Yeah. And for the feel they're going for, the trailer didn't really match up for me. It was like really deathly serious. I guess it needed to be.
Well, it starts serious, and then he's like, I don't care, I'm going on vacation, and then it just kind of goes into like some of the European shenanigans.
Yeah, they do fixate on the ghosting Nick Fury line that they were very proud of. Aside from like, you learn that Bob Downey's dead, like this trailer doesn't really tell you too much about what this movie is and what it's going to do. I mean, you see Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio.
It's a good guy.
He's presented as the good guy, yeah. Which I guess even with that, you can't advertise in the trailer that like he has to fight Jake Gyllenhaal, because it's like that's part of the twist, I guess. Oh, yeah.
Well, they dropped that magic word, multiverse. So back then they were already planting the seeds to get people excited. I think the biggest thing that kind of spoils it, not spoiler, but I'm kind of surprised that they end the trailer with that moment where Mary Jane tells him, oh yeah, I know you're Spider-Man. Because that is kind of like that's probably a bigger deal than anything else, even I would say in the world of Spider-Man, or if you're a Spider-Man fan, it's kind of more of a bigger deal than just having him mourning Iron Man. I mean, that's big, but like that could kind of, you would know that if you watch Endgame. You don't know about Mary Jane knowing that he's Spider-Man until you're watching the movie. So for them to like throw that in your face is kind of, I guess it's ballsy, it just shows your faith in the material. I was like, I don't care. I'll blow through that surprise. And then there's a deleted scene, right? Unless I completely tuned it out. That whole thing with the cops.
Okay. I was like, this isn't in the movie, but then I was like, I could believe it is, and I just forgot it. So if you don't remember it, then
I
yeah.
don't think so, but I remember seeing it. So that means that I've seen this trailer at least once before, and I think it's funny. It's like next time, I can't. I'm too busy doing your job.
I like that. That's a staple of superhero movies from kind of the early 2000s. There would be a lot of stuff in trailers that didn't actually end up in the movies. Not a lot, but sometimes.
Back when they were a tight 90 minutes, tight
Yes.
145. This one's just a little over 2 hours, but
And when they cared more about like concealing what happens in the movies and shit.
do you remember seeing trailers for like those? Now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't think that I ever saw trailers for like X-Men or the Schumacher Batmans, because those are the ones I saw in theaters, and I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I remember the X-Men. Schumacher's. I might be conflating Batman trailers, but I feel like I remember a teaser for Forever. But yeah, X-Men and and then we get into like the mid 2000s where we worked at the movie theater. Remember like the majesty of the teaser trailers for the Dark Knight and such. But yeah, I remember like the original X-Men trailer, because if I remember correctly, it's that like it's either like the Cerebro door closing or like an X gets formed on the screen somehow. And then we've talked about before on the show, the original teaser for Spider-Man got pulled.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. But fuck, Spider-Man 2 had a really good teaser that I'm blanking on right now. But yeah, I remember these. I remember seeing these in the theater. Awesome. You can kind of count it as like superhero shit. The teaser for the first Transformers movie, which ended up having absolutely fuck all to do with the movie itself. Do you remember that?
No.
It's the rover on Mars. Like it's like the government talking over there, this rover on Mars, and then it gets picked up and like gets broken, and they like back that up, and they freeze frame it, and it's Optimus Prime like looking at it.
Like he stepped on it.
Like he saw it and then like was like, what the fuck is this? So
Does the trailer open with like John Turturro out of character telling you like, do not watch this if you haven't watched it?
If you haven't watched the animated film from 20 years ago, don't watch this. Yeah.
Food for thought. How superhero trailers have changed. And now we just give away the house because we know you're going to come and watch them no matter what.
That was the Dark Knight trailer. Was like, it was pretty close to the release of Dark Knight when people started really picking up the momentum of Two-Faces in the movie, because it was like everything was like the first promotional image from the movie was that close-up of Heath Ledger's face in the Joker makeup, and then the trailer, like that was the big reveal of the first full-length trailer, is him at the end, to the point where you're like, yeah, who gives a shit about Aaron Eckhart? It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Aaron Eckhart was like, hey, I'm here too, just so you know. A reminder, Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. Yeah, I was. I forgot. I might still do it. I need to look up that viral thing that I told you about in the episode about Jay Gyllenhaal reading a Spider-Man comic and realizing the Mysterio is a bad guy. It's pretty funny, and I think that hopefully was also kind of a promotional thing. But before
viral, I didn't realize this was the movie. I have seen it, and it's really cute and innocent and wholesome. Tom Holland, Zendaya, and then the other fella, their friend, when they were doing the press scrums for it. The woman who does the narration for Watch Mojo came in to interview. Have you seen that clip?
No.
They're like, he's like, oh, Watch Mojo. I love Watch Mojo. And he starts doing the impression of today on Watch Mojo. And she's like, yeah, that's me. And they're all like, no way. And she's like, yeah, it's like, do the thing. And she's like, I've never done it in person. She goes, today on Watch Mojo. And they're all like, oh. Like I said, very wholesome.
They were definitely an asset. See, I remember the campaign for No Way Home. I'll probably talk a little bit more about that on the next After Hours. But they did, because that one was, there was such secrecy around that movie. And I think part of the joke was that Tom Holland, I don't know if this is true, it's just a bit that went on for years, but that Tom Holland can't keep a secret. So when you see him in press conferences, like in scrums, like it's whoever his co-star is, it's always kind of, the joke is they're always keeping an eye on him, not to spoil something. So there's like a bunch of interviews where it's him and Benedict Cumberbatch, and Cumberbatch is constantly like, huh? be quiet. And for No Way Home, they had something similar where it was just like Zendaya in a, what's his name, Jacob Battalion, I think, the kid that plays Ned, and they're just running around with him saying like, "We're not going to spoil it. We're going to give you the title and so on." We'll look it up. We'll find it for the next one.
They, for all my jesting, they bring some youthful optimism to those things. Some of those press scrums you watch with like Paul Rudd just dead behind the eyes talking about Ant-Man, and you know. The Star Wars ones, like for Force Awakens specifically, like where Harrison Ford was like, "Why do I have to do this?"
But also thinking they killed me, so I'm glad that they killed me.
Yeah,
I don't have to do this again. All right, well, let's transition into the Josh Gad Minute and take care of Josh Gad in the Spider Universe. So many options, but just none of the youthful ones. So it can't be Peter's classmate.
No, and I could not have spent the amount of time I did in our actual episode lamenting the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal is doing this shit, which again made a lot of money, and he seems to be having at least it appears as though he's having a good time with it. But I could not have done all that to not come to the conclusion that Josh Gad should play Mysterio in this movie. That's like,
wow.
You know, the most obvious thing to go to right away.
See, I thought you were going to go save, you're going to be like Martin Starr, because that is pretty much written for Josh Gad.
I like Martin Starr. I could definitely see Josh Gad and JB Smoove having some really good, like, you know, rat-a-tat, some back and forth. That would make it to Lino-Rama, which you would love, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, no, Josh Gad as Mysterio. I mean, never in my wildest dreams would I think of the casting, or would I think of you suggesting it. So,
like the majority of Real Talk is me just being like, it's kind of sad Jake Gyllenhaal has to do this.
But it wouldn't be sad if Josh Gad was doing it.
No, because then I would be like, all right, now we're fucking cooking with gas here, because that'd be so far. Because it's still, despite all the claims of inclusion and whatnot, these movies are still just parades for really, really, really hot people. And not saying Josh Gad's not like a good looking dude or something. I'm not saying he's like ugly, but if that was announced, like Josh Gad's going to play Mysterio opposite Tom Holland in a Spider-Man movie, you'd be like, well, hold on now. Let's hear this guy out over here. Let's see what he's talking about.
Well, Mysterio is taken, but there's still plenty of Spider-Man villains, and there's at least one more Spider-Man movie coming out. So,
have they done the Shocker yet?
No, we haven't seen the Shocker. We haven't. I guess we kind of seen the Rhino, as I told you when we talked about Kraven the Hunter. You can't do Kraven, you can't do the Rhino, but Shocker, yeah, the Gad that's the Shocker. It's
this. I don't know how this fucking shit works anymore, but like could they do the Sandman? Could he be the Sandman?
He could be the Sandman in this universe, yes.
Okay, well,
so there you go.
Because in some universe, UNT great Thomas Hayden Church still needs that role.
Yeah, you can take he can take the torch from that. All right, well, let's close down by going to trivia, Alex. What trivia do you have for me that I haven't already given you when I was just geeking out over all sort of Spider-Man facts over on the main episode?
Yeah, this is pretty much going to be exclusive to marketing, because that's the part of it that fascinated me. But for the regular stats, directed by John Watts, written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. This had an estimated budget of $160 million, with a box office return of over $1 billion with a B. So,
movies are alive.
My old man yelling at clouds, I understand, is very much for naught.
I said movies are alive. Movies were alive, at least in 2019. I guess we will find out when they release the fourth one, and you know how it does.
Movies are still alive
intermittently.
If you're listening to this and you know this is your first time with any exposure to us, you can listen to any episode from the past year, and at some point we'll talk about there's 2 movies released on the same day that both made $1 billion, and one of them was an R-rated movie that was 3 hours long about a scientist. So or a physicist, you give people a reason to go to the movies, and they will fucking do it. All right. So due to Parker dying at the end of Infinity War and not being resurrected until Endgame, it was noted that in May of 2018 that Sony would either have to begin marketing the film only 2 months before its release or spoil the fact that Parker is resurrected for general audiences that may not realize that this would happen in Endgame. The name here looks like from the writer Jermaine Lucier suggested that the latter approach be taken, while a representative of Sony said the studio would be working with Marvel to, quote, figure out the Spider-Man strategy. Holland and Gyllenhaal debuted the first trailer for Far From Home at Sony's CCXP Brazil panel on December 8th of 2018. The footage did not acknowledge the events of Infinity War or Endgame, with Collider describing it as a continuation of the Spider-Man universe only. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Holland debuted the trailer publicly on his Instagram account on January 15th of 2019. A slightly different international version was also released. Several news outlets commented on Parker's appearance in the trailer following the events of Infinity War, with IndieWire pointing out that while the trailer reveals Parker's return, it does not explain how. That could have been an interesting thing, too. Like, honestly, you could have just released the movie as it was and just said, like, it happened before Infinity War.
Exactly. Well, you couldn't, because so much of what happens in the movie is... you're talking about the trailer. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember at the time, look, we all knew he was coming back. We all knew everybody was coming back. But there was always, if you wanted to start shit, or if you wanted to just, like, talk, you would just go like, well, but what if they don't? Like, no, but there's a Spider-Man movie already announced. There's a Black Panther movie already announced. And then you go, well, but it could be somebody else, right? Could be Miles Morales in the second Spider-Man movie, or it could be a prequel. Just what you were saying. It happened before Infinity War, so there was always people were doing the marketing for them already. Everybody, all you had to do was say, "There's a Spider-Man movie coming out. This is the date."
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even need to release a trailer. You could have leaked at some point, like, "Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be there." They say he might be Mysterio, but we don't know. Everybody was gonna show up
undetermined. They did. I think I called this out in the episode, but they did record film a lot on location, which I think is pretty cool. But going back here to the marketing, a teaser poster was released with the trailer showing Spider-Man's mask covered in travel stickers, which I think that's like the thumbnail on Disney Plus. The poster was said to be really fun, leading into the whole summer vacation vibe while potentially hinting at the film's location. Hollywood Reporter felt the trailer presented the threat of the elementals, so audiences would be thrown off the scent of Mysterio being a villain. I guess, yeah.
I mean, there's a bad guy called Hydra Man that is literally like that first water monster that they fight. So somebody would be like, "Hey, it's Hydra Man."
Forbes thought the trailer showed sheer confidence of Sony in its Spider-Man films, especially after the success of Homecoming. That Venom was a success?
Yeah, I mean, they made 2 sequels. So.
$900 million, yeah. It's doing all right for itself. And Into the Spider-Verse. The trailer received 130 million views in 24 hours, surpassing Homecoming as the most viewed Sony Pictures trailer in that time period. So I can only imagine there were people breaking it down frame by frame.
Yes.
Like when the Iron Claw trailer came out, basically what I did with that. It's like, Texas Stadium. Carry on a motorcycle.
They did that when episode 1, the first trailer for episode 1 came out. There was, I think the Alamo Drafthouse hosted like a panel where they broke down the trailer.
That's insane. It didn't always necessarily used to be better. Second trailer of the film was released on May 6th of 2019. Featured introduction from Holland. This must have been the one we watched. Warning that they include spoilers. Watts, the director who knew the plots of Infinity War and Endgame and worked with the Russo brothers on Spider-Man's appearances in those films, was relieved that the trailer's release allowed him to speak more openly about Far From Home. Second trailer had 135 million views in 24 hours. God damn. Again, I'm wrong on these things. Beginning the weekend after the trailer's release, screenings of Endgame began with a message from Holland telling audiences to stay till the end of the credits, with the trailer played at the end of the film.
Aw.
Marvel previously added a trailer for the Avengers to the end of Captain America, the First Avenger. I remember that. Because that would have been probably all digital at that point. So we just, like, they sent us like a flash drive. It's like, this has the goods, put it on there. United Airlines served as a promotional partner for the film, with one of their Boeing 777 aircrafts and several United employees appearing in the film, as done with previous MCU films. Audi also sponsored the film, promoting several vehicles while having some of their other vehicles appear in the film. Partnering with several other companies, Dr. Pepper, Papa John's, Burger King. The film had a total promotional marketing value of $288 million, the largest for a film ever. So there you go, man. Dr. Pepper ain't cheap. Ahead of the film's home media release in September 2019, Sony released a Night Monkey trailer featuring footage from the film of Spider-Man and his jokey alter ego of the same name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Later in the month, Sony created a real version of the fictional DailyBugle.net website as part of a viral marketing campaign to promote the home media release of the film. I call this in the episode, by the way, because it's not a coincidence how J.K. Simmons looks. Inspired by real-world conspiracy-pushing websites such as that of Alex Jones, the website features Simmons reprising his role of Jameson in the video where he speaks out against Spider-Man and in support of Mysterio before adding, "Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe." The website included testimonials from supposed victims of the blip, including one complaining that they had disappeared in a dangerous situation and were seriously injured when they reappeared. This contradicts a statement by Paul Feig saying that anyone in such situation would have reappeared safely.
Paul
Several
Feig?
days. Yeah.
Who's... No, Kevin Feig.
Kevin, I'm sorry. It just says Feig here, and I always think of Paul Feig. Paul Feig,
It's like, what the fuck
director
does Paul Feig know about the MCU?
of License to Wed. Is that the name of it?
Yes.
In addition to his many contributions to The Office.
Bridesmaid.
Kevin Feig. Yeah. Well. Several days after this was pointed out, the website was updated to say that the story was faked for an insurance claim. See, now that's the kind of shit I can certainly get behind.
Well, that's it makes sense because Hulk makes him appear. So you would think that when Hulk was doing his snap, part of his thought was they reappear safely.
Yeah,
so that makes sense. I was hoping, I like that it was the Daily Bugle, but I was hoping that you were gonna say that there was also like a real version of Flash Thompson's. Is it YouTube or TikTok that he's doing throughout the entire trip, where he's like, he has his phone the entire time. He's
yeah, like Instagram Live or something.
Yeah.
In closing, of all the accolades and monetary success that Spider-Man Far From Home saw, I don't think there was any greater than that of the award that Tom Holland took home for favorite superhero at the 2020 Kids' Choice Awards on Nickelodeon. The 33rd annual Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Awards Celebrate Together was the theme of that year. It was held virtually on May 2nd of 2020. What a time. The films up that year were Spider-Man Far From Home, Jumanji The Next Level, Captain Marvel, Aladdin, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and of course Avengers Endgame took it home. Tom Holland in the favorite superhero category beat out Bob Downey, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, and Brie Larson.
All Avengers.
The Zendaya lost movie actress to Dove Cameron in something called Descendants 3.
What?
The only reason I bring up that category, Dove Cameron for Descendants 3 won. The other nominees, Scarlett Johansson, Zendaya, as I said, Angelina Jolie for Maleficent, Brie Larson for Captain Marvel, and Taylor Swift as Bombalurina from Cats.
From Cats.
Yeah. You know?
I'm
Why not?
wondering, is Descendants 3 like? Did they just recast George Clooney's daughter? And it's just this Dove Cameron. Is she playing the fuck? What's the name of that actor?
I could not tell you.
Alexander Payne gave away the rights and destroyed his baby.
Looks like that was a television movie. Okay. She has been in a couple movies, none of which I have seen. And anyway, in conclusion here, our boy Josh Gad also took home an award that year for favorite male voice from an animated movie for his performance as both Olaf in Frozen 2 and Chuck in the Angry Birds movie 2.
He doesn't need us. We like to pretend that we're...
We gas him up.
Yeah. Well, that's good for him. Good for him. I mean, I still want him as Mysterio. I think that will be the... Well,
that's the next step.
Yeah, not Mysterio, but whatever. It could be the Wolfman. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, that was very, very informative, Alex. You may not believe this, but I actually disconnect from these movies after I watch them, and I kind of like keep them to myself, and I just enjoy them on my own. And I'll talk to my wife about them. I'll talk to some friends about them. But I really, it's been several years since I've really gone online to like exchange comments, thoughts, because it's just they bog me down, and so I miss out on this type of information. The fact that there was like a complete unknown competing against Zendaya and like other big league actresses, and that Tom Holland won Best Superhero over all the other Avengers, that kind of stuff. Like, tells me I didn't even know the Daily Bugle had like an actual website going on for a while. I just, because I don't want spoilers, and I don't want like, I guess when I really enjoy them, which is most of the time, I just want to protect that experience for as long as I can, because I know eventually something's going to happen where I'm just going to have to like, all right, I guess I have to come out of my bubble and engage with other opinions and so on, which is kind of what we're doing this episode and the next. But that's why, I'm very precious about how I engage with them, because, as you get older, you kind of treasure the things that really make you feel good, or at least that you feel intensely. Hence the Spider-Man shirt.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I am very much behind these two episodes, this one and the next one. So the next one, Spider-Man No Way Home. Alex hasn't seen it. Alex, of course, because he lives in the world where the internet exists, he knows the big secret from the movie. Everybody knows, even if you haven't seen it. Most people had kind of figured it out before.
Julio recorded it on his cell phone and was like, "Yeah, like in the theater."
God. No, we're still like recovering from COVID, and so it was just like everybody was like, "Is this gonna be okay?" So Spider-Man No Way Home, if you haven't watched it, check it out. If you've watched it, rewatch it. It's a fun movie, and it'll be fun to tell us how you watch it, because it's not Disney Plus. You're gonna have to make the choice, where you rent it, or if you buy the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever. That's the one Spider-Man movie that's not on Disney Plus. And quick shout out, since I'm talking shit about Disney Plus, I'll say something nice about Disney Plus. They have a lot of Spider-Man cartoons. When I was watching Far From Home.
They have the 90s Saturday morning cartoon on there, which I'll sometimes just put on in the background. Yeah,
it's if you're a Spider-Man fan, there's so much content there. But anyway, watch Far From Home if you haven't, also because it's probably better than you remember. And get ready for No Way Home. But until then, we'll talk to you again soon.
I was going to salute, but I got to do this now.
Yes.